Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to do just the shortest little intro. I'm going to turn over to Jamie, and then I'm going to turn it over to the Xcel leaders in our Rhythmic community. So first of all, this is so exciting to see how many Rhythmic clubs and people in our community are on this call right now. Thank you so much for finding the time to do this. This is really an opportunity to learn about this aspect of our program that people sort of know about, maybe sort of don't know about, and can learn and take advantage of the opportunities it presents. I am going to have Jamie speak a little bit about the relationship between Rhythmic Xcel kind of coming into the Rhythmic program, but I am going to say that the people in this Rhythmic Xcel committee are, like, in the past 2 years, we've experienced such an incredible explosion in the world of sports and in gymnastics. These are really good people that work in gymnastics. This is the hope of gymnastics. These are people that are committed to inclusion and positive experience for kids from the moment they wake up into the moment they go to bed. And of course, everybody that I hope is working in our program is committed to that, but they live it, they breathe it, and they're trying to bring it to kids and clubs, I think, every single day. I have so much respect for your passion for kids and inclusion and positive experience. And I hope, may we all sort of live up to that example. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jamie and have her explain a little bit how it works, and then let them speak for themselves. And just want to thank you all.
So welcome to everyone in attendance, and like Caroline said, thank you for your interest. We are super excited that there are so many of you here. This is an exciting time for the Rhythmic Xcel program, as the committee's been hard at work updating the handbook and rules to reflect feedback from coaches and athletes and make the program even better going forward. And the committee members and some additional Xcel coaches will be sharing today the mission and philosophy of the program, along with tips of how they've implemented the program in their own clubs. And the committee has worked hard to make the Xcel program fluid and adaptable, which is even more important in this time than it ever has been. It's a great program for experienced coaches to offer their higher level athletes who may want to stay involved in the sport without dedicating as many hours to the gym. At the same time, it's a great program for new coaches who are just starting out teaching rhythmic gymnastics. And it's a perfect option for any athletes who want an opportunity to perform and compete against their own personal best in a supportive environment. And at this time, I know that training space can be a challenge for some clubs, and the Xcel program also offers a flexible set of rules that can be adapted to train in nearly any space. So those are just a few things, a few reasons why I'm excited about the Xcel program, and I'm looking forward to hearing more from the committee members and their perspective and all they have to share. So thank you to all the committee members for all their work in putting on this webinar, and I'll turn it over to Cindy now to start us off.
Okay. Hi, I'm so happy to see this many people here. And I know that Xcel in various forms has been around, from Festival Rhythmic to Express and now to Xcel. And I feel like we have really come into our own, and that this year is the year for an explosion of Rhythmic Xcel, which is why we're so happy to be doing the webinar. As Jamie kind of mentioned, we're going to have like 3 things going on. One will be our mission statement. Why do we do and why do we offer Rhythmic Xcel? The next thing we'll talk about is the philosophy, and coming from a hardcore competitive rhythmic program, which I coached in for many years, you'll find, I think, that the philosophy of Rhythmic Xcel is very different. And it's very embracing of many different kinds of gymnasts, different kinds of body types, different kinds of commitment, financial and time. But in all of this, Rhythmic Xcel still emphasizes the excellence in the body technique and apparatus technique of rhythmic gymnastics. It's not a program just for kids who have no talent, which I know the Artistic Xcel program suffered through this, Rhythmic Xcel, and sometimes people have looked down on the program. But I will tell you, with our requirements and our score sheets, we are expecting good rhythmic technique and body technique. And so I hope that will come across, that this is for good, dedicated gymnasts who are striving for their personal best. And then, as Jamie said, we have several coaches that have done Rhythmic Xcel and implemented it in their program in many different ways. So we are going to ask them to speak and maybe give you some ideas about how it would work in your program if you haven't done this before. And then after you know, you're going to really get the philosophy and the mission today, and then we will follow up with how to evaluate, or we call it evaluate instead of judge, Xcel routines. And if you're not coming from the philosophy of Xcel, then understanding the score sheets and coming up with appropriate scores is going to be very difficult. So I think the philosophy is huge. So I'm going to start off with the mission statement part. And what we'll do is read what's in the handbook, and then we have some comments and some testimonials as we go. So our first bullet is to provide a program that makes rhythmic gymnastics easily accessible for gymnasts of all abilities, as well as new clubs, coaches, and choreographers. I remember what it was like to be a new coach, and thank goodness to Marina Davidovich for taking me under her wing and teaching me about rhythmic gymnastics. I knew ballet, I knew artistic gymnastics, but everybody doesn't have someone close to them that can really teach them. And if you didn't grow up with rhythmic gymnastics and doing rhythmic gymnastics, it's very difficult. So I think what we're trying to do is make a program that new coaches feel comfortable coaching and can be successful, and their gymnasts can be successful coaching, and new choreographers. It's hard to step in the world of choreography, and so this is a very forgiving program that as people learn to be choreographers, we hope we've given them guidelines, and a big part of our Xcel program is education of coaches, parents, and gymnasts. So we hope that the way the program is designed will help new coaches, new clubs, and new choreographers, new gymnasts, all step into the program easily. So our next bullet is to provide a program for athletes seeking a recreational or developmentally educational competitive experience. So Miriam, can you raise your hand, and Jamie will find you, and let's listen to what Miriam has to say about how she's done Xcel in her program.
Okay, we should have Miriam promoted to a panelist now, but Miriam, I think you need to unmute yourself. Okay.
Can everybody hear me and see me now?
Yes.
Perfect. I'm so excited to be here to share my experience with the Xcel program. Before I start making some comments about the Xcel program, I just wanted to let everybody know where I'm coming from. I practiced gymnastics myself, rhythmic gymnastics, in Egypt, where I grew up. We moved as a family here to the United States in 2005. I decided I want to pursue medicine, but always wanted to also keep coaching gymnastics. So as I was going through my training and education, I coached JO as an assistant coach in multiple programs over different cities. And I also had some experience judging lower level JO. And then in 2015, my husband and I moved to Savannah, and for the first time ever, I was in a city that did not have a rhythmic gymnastics program. So the only way I could actually coach is I had to create one. And that was very overwhelming and very new for me. I started in 2015, and for the first 2 years, I was really struggling to keep more than 2 gymnasts competing in my area. Everybody loves cheer here. Luckily for me, around that same time, Xcel was really coming into light. At that point, it was called Express, and I'm so thankful for that. I decided to try that, and as soon as I did that, I immediately had a lot more luck keeping more gymnasts, more competitive gymnasts in my team. And I can honestly say that without this program, my gymnastics program would have not survived. At the same time, I'm really proud that I'm able to offer this beautiful sport to a broader audience, just as Cindy said, with a lot of different abilities. So that's what Xcel has done for my program. What Xcel has done for my gymnasts is, because we only need to practice twice a week, it's offered gymnasts the opportunities to pursue other activities, to still spend time with their families, to make sure that they're paying attention to schoolwork if they're struggling. In the past, we all have seen gymnasts who are JO gymnasts who all of a sudden when they get to high school and it gets too hard, they need to quit because they need the time to study well. With Xcel, with only 2 practices a week, they can do both. They don't have to quit something that they love. At the same time, because it's less physically demanding, there's a lot less risk for injury. So those are just some of the benefits of Xcel program for the gymnasts I've had. Parents love the Xcel program too, because since we're practicing less hours per week, the tuition fees are a lot less. And I can tell you during COVID and the pandemic, I'm sure a lot of families are going to go through financial hardships. So it's definitely tempting, instead of being forced for their daughter to quit something they love, to just transition into the Xcel program and kind of be able to financially commit to that. They also like the fact that competition registration fees are less compared to JO. They love the fact that not all competitions are required, so they can pick and choose which competitions to go to and don't have to make a commitment to go to all of them. They can just go to whatever works for their family. And the parents enjoy spending more time with their kids and not having to worry about their schoolwork struggling if there are students that are struggling. For me personally, this Xcel program has allowed my gymnastics program to survive, so I'm able to do what I love, and I'm able to coach more girls with different backgrounds and different body abilities and just see them enjoy this beautiful sport. One tip I have is something that I've had huge success with is bringing on dancers to my competitive team through Xcel. The reason it's possible is because, again, since we only have 2 practices per week, they don't have to quit dance. They can do both. And I've noticed that they love doing rhythmic because it helps them with their flexibility. So that helps them with dance. And they see that they're very competitive because their body skills are excellent coming into it. So it's just a win-win for everybody. The challenges I've faced with that is the turnover sometimes is faster. Sometimes they only want to do that for a season or 2 just to try something new. So just keep that in mind. And the other thing is sometimes it's a challenge to know which level to place them in. Their difficulties are usually very advanced, but their apparatus skills are what need work. So sometimes it's just a challenge to know what level fits them. And the last overall comment I wanted to make is just, Paula is going to talk about level placement in a few minutes. But just one issue that I see sometimes that I really hope we can all work on as a community is the fact that some coaches at competitions place gymnasts in very easy levels for their abilities. So for instance, a gymnast that can do a side balance on releve perfectly should not be a level A gymnast. The level A gymnast is just barely figuring out which way to go and just what a balance is. Another example is a gymnast who was a JO level 8, who was an excellent JO level 8, should not be placed in level C. Level D would be a more appropriate placement. The problem that happens with this is, unfortunately, no matter how hard you try, sometimes the judges or the evaluators are skewed by this. And unfortunately, sometimes the gymnasts that are placed in the appropriate levels get penalized and don't get the scores that they deserve. So I think what we need to do is we need to educate coaches about making sure that they place their gymnasts in appropriate levels, not levels that are too easy. And at the same time, educate evaluators that even if that happens, the gymnasts that are placed in the appropriate levels should not be penalized and their scores should not be affected. And the great news is I know that there's going to be a webinar in the near future that will educate judges on how to evaluate Xcel routines, so that if that happens, they learn to keep in mind that the gymnasts who are appropriately placed earn the scores that they deserve. That's one of the big benefits of the fact that Xcel is achievement awards rather than placement awards. That's a huge benefit for that. So overall, just summarizing, I highly, highly recommend that Rhythmic programs incorporate Xcel. This will help them grow financially for sure, and will also help make a difference in more gymnasts' lives.
Thank you. That was great.
Thank you.
Okay, back to me. Our third bullet that we have is part of the mission to bring the health benefits of rhythmic gymnastics to a wide audience. And this is especially near and dear to my heart because, as most of you all know, I've developed the HUGS program and have a great special needs program and have also coached lots of advanced level gymnasts. So we want all of these people to have a place in our Xcel program. When kids start in like soccer or baseball or something like that, they sign up, they have a few lessons, and then all of a sudden they're in a game and their parents get to go and cheer them, and they get to win and they get trophies. And so gymnastics typically takes a long time to get to a level where you can compete. But with the Rhythmic Xcel program, we do have a program where someone can come into the gym, take some classes, learn even one routine, and go to a competition, even if it's just a little in-house competition that you have at your gym. And their parents can come and watch. Because we are achievement-based, everybody walks out with great self-esteem and a medal or a ribbon. So I think that's a huge benefit of Xcel, because people can start in a class, learn a routine, learn a few skills, and then they can play the game. So I have Lonnie, can you raise your hand? I saw you briefly and then I didn't see you again. So is Lonnie here?
On as a panelist, it looks like she has the same name as you. So maybe she logged in with the link that you used, but she's here.
Okay, well, I have asked Lonnie to speak for just a second. So Lonnie, take it away.
Lonnie, I think you're muted. Can you unmute yourself?
No. There we go.
There she is.
Troubles. Okay. I said good. Hear me well?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Some of you know my name, Learning Myrtle. I was competing in rhythmic gymnastics since I was 13 in Special Olympics and Hugs program. I was competing in Xcel program against non-special Olympians. I'm gotten so good, so I have a lot of medals.
And I think when you first started, your parents were a little worried about you going into a mainstream program, right? And competing against people who didn't have special needs.
Nope.
And because of how we evaluate the routines and our achievement awards, Lonnie has been very successful. She competes XLB and she also competed JO level 4. And I will tell you that it has been a win-win situation, not just for Lonnie, but for all of the people that have seen her come on the floor. And Lonnie is not alone in competing in our Xcel program. We have several gymnasts with special needs, and we ask that they be evaluated just like everybody else. And if they bend their back leg on the split leap, Lonnie, what happens?
No points on that one.
Yeah. Well, they get some points, but they
Yes,
get a little
some.
deduction.
Not all.
So by putting our special needs gymnasts into the mainstream world, we are asking that they be evaluated. And in the Xcel program, it may not be required to get a perfect split, but if Lonnie does a split leap to the best of her ability with her back leg straight, she still gets a lot of points. So I think from Lonnie to some of our high-level JO gymnasts who have come to the Xcel program, there's a place everywhere for all of these competitive gymnasts to fit into Xcel. Okay, let's turn it over to Michelle to talk about the philosophy.
Cindy, can I jump in for just a second? I think that probably everyone on here knows about the Xcel program, about the Hugs program, but I just want to make sure that it's clear to everyone that Hugs is kind of from the Special Olympics pipeline. And so essentially what's been so amazing is that Lonnie was able to participate in that program. And then as they've just explained, also participate in the Xcel program also. So great job, Lonnie.
Okay, Michelle, take it away on the philosophy.
All right, Jamie, you in your introduction, you pretty much hit the whole philosophy, but I'm going to read it anyway. Rhythmic Xcel is designed to provide a competitive outlet for gymnasts just beginning in the sport, gymnasts who want to participate in a wide variety of extracurricular activities, Gymnasts who desire to compete without the extensive time and financial commitments generally associated with the sport, and anyone who wants the opportunity to participate in a safe, fun sport that builds self-esteem and physical fitness. Now, I was just thinking about my clientele, but you all know your clientele. And we live in a beach community, and the kids and their parents like to be a part of every team in town. And that's part of like the parents' social life. It's their pride. And so this, with Rhythmic Xcel, kids can be part of the parents' social community. And they can be on soccer teams in the fall, they can do their surfing contests in the summer, and they can still do dance with their friends. And this is really important to the parents. And if you don't have the parents' buy-in and you just isolate the kids in the gym all the time, they feel like they are missing out. The parents feel like they are missing out. And so I found that this is really important to have a balance for the parents in my community. We've stuck with 2 day a week practices. Their bodies do better, their school work is doable, and they still have a social life. Also, our parents do not want to have a negative competitive experience. And everybody says like, oh, you know, it's competing, there's winners and losers. Well, that's all great until it's your kid. And when those parents are faced with realizing that somebody will be in last place if they're doing the JO program, and they realize it could be their own child that's sitting there in last place. My parents don't want that for their children. And so that's why they really appreciate the Rhythmic Xcel evaluations and the award experience. So that has been like a big selling point to my parents. My parents are big worriers. They don't want their kids to have any kind of negative experience. They see the evaluations as totally positive, as do I. We use those evaluation papers after every meet for a lot of practices to help them get better and to use the feedback. And if there are comments from an evaluator, they take it so seriously. It's not really the numbers. The numbers on the sheet don't really, you know, with a beginner gymnast, they're just like, oh, I got a 9. But it's for the more experienced gymnasts. And as you teach them to take those evaluations and to actually look at it critically as a way to help you get better, the kids know how to use these, and it's really helped to educate the parents as to the point of this. And then when they do see the routines the next time, they are looking for the same thing that the kids were looking for. So that's what I'm saying. Oh, and one more thing. I just have to say, after working on all these rules changes, evaluation changes, handbook changes, everything that I've done, I totally appreciate all you who have done it before me. I had no idea how hard it is, and anyone who wants to be critical, do it yourself, and you will be like you will be so grateful the next time it comes around.
Amen to that, Michelle. Amen to that.
Oh my gosh, I learned so much. I'm so humble now.
Thank
All right,
you.
let's hear from Melinda how she has incorporated Xcel into her program. Melinda, raise your hand.
She's already promoted to a panelist. So I
am here. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Do you want to
Yep.
see me?
Yep.
Okay, we'll do that. Hi, I'm at work. Okay, we've been doing, well, what used to be, we're doing Xcel, and we've been doing Xcel since before it was Xcel, since before it was Xcel. Our kids, when they come into the gym and they want to start competing, all of them now start in Xcel. We don't let anybody start in JO. Even if they came from another gym maybe that was doing JO, they're going to do Xcel first. It's a big benefit for us. Our kids stay until high school. You know, we don't have anybody drop out anymore that before at least the first or second year of high school. That's usually because they had a boyfriend, but normally they don't. They stay with it. They love it. They can still do everything else they want to do. We've got them that play soccer, volleyball, basketball, track and field, dance, every sport you can imagine, they're doing a couple of days a week. And then they're in the gym with us 2, maybe 3 days a week. The ones that are up in the higher levels, they're practicing 3 days a week. But their hours are nominal compared to what we used to have to do when we had kids in JO. And in JO, we always had a problem with infighting or something, or parents like, she got more time practicing than she did. My daughter didn't get much time on the floor. That's all stopped. It doesn't exist in the Xcel program. The kids are also supportive of each other. When you go, this is one thing we haven't touched on, when they go to a competition, they can talk to the other kids. They can make friends with the other kids from other teams. The coaches can hang out and talk to other kids from other teams. There's no, oh, she's with so-and-so. It's gone. It's gone. Their self-esteem and their friendliness towards each other and their support for other kids on other teams and with other abilities is just, it's gorgeous to watch, versus what we used to see when we had, all that bickering that used to go on. So now all of our kids, like I said, they start with Xcel, and if they choose at some point to try a JO for a year or something, we make sure that all their routines have the JO requirements in them when we do their routines for Xcel. So regardless of what level, we kind of try to, that's kind of hard to figure out, but we try really hard to make if they're a level A, what it would correlate to if they were in JO and all the way up. I honestly cannot see a reason for a kid even attempting JO unless you see some major potential in her and she's to the level where she would be a level 7 or 8. I honestly can't see, because everybody has a billion level 4s and level 5s. And then as it goes on, they get to level 6, you've got half of that amount of kids. And then you get to level 7 and that's cut in half again. And each time until you get to level 9, where you've got this small little portion of the kids that you had in level 3 and 4, because they're gone. It got too hard and you've lost that revenue. You've lost those kids, and those kids have moved on to cheerleading, because here that's what they do. They move on to cheerleading. And to keep them, and they're only coming a couple of days a week, they have time for everything else they want to do. And they have time to do what they love, and they have time to participate in the sport. They totally enjoy the competitions. I think the evaluation is so much better than placing, because my favorite example to them when they come in and they may have been doing JO and then they come to our team, I said, what happens when you're the only level 7 junior and you go to a competition? What do you get? First place. You'll be first, and first. And you may not have done your routine may have been lacking so much, but yet you're going to be first. How does that help you improve at all? All you know is that you were first, and then you get your papers back that say you didn't do this or didn't do that or didn't do that. It's not the same as your evaluation forms in Xcel, where you have an idea of what you did incorrectly and what you should work on to improve on. Another thing I like about JL, so I'm going to skip, the Xcel program, is that the kids, if they want to try a new skill, okay, we got one right now. She really wants to do a double stag. Well, she's really working on that double stag. She's got a stag, but for some reason she can't remember to bend her back leg. So she's working on it, but we can put that in her Xcel routine. And even if her foot doesn't get to the exact place that it needs to be, she'll get some kind of credit for that. versus if she did a JO, it's an all or nothing, you know. And so she's like, I really want to get this double stag. I know I can do it. And so she's going to have it in her, and you guys will see it. She'll have, and you'll know who I'm talking about when she gets there. But she's going to have that double stag in her routine. I mean, it's not going to be a perfect double stag. Next year, it might be a perfect double stag. But this year, it's just going to be her trying to do this double stag and trying to make sure that her position is correct. That I really love about it. And the fact that the kids can add so much of themselves.
Hi, everyone. So this is how the Life with Zoom goes. It cut us out because it said somebody else on this account was starting a new webinar. It's unclear to me. I rebroadcasted it. I'm going to, Michelle's coming back in. I'm sure Jamie will get back in. I'm going to quickly go off to call my office, but it seems like we can keep going. Let's just wait till we get Jamie, and good, we've got Michelle coming in. And then Cindy, you can decide where to pick back up, but wait till Jamie comes in if you can.
Okay. And I'd just like to say we've had a couple of questions come in on the Q&A. And let me just answer that right now. Someone was interested in how many routines they can do. We have 3 individual routines for each level, your choice of either any apparatus or floor. And in addition to that, we encourage each team to have a group floor exercise, which can be kids of all levels and all ages in the same floor exercise. We encourage each team to compete in that. And then they can also do a group apparatus routine, which could be a duet, could be a trio, it could be a larger group apparatus. So 3 individual routines and 2 group routines would be the maximum that a gymnast could compete. Your choice of apparatus or floor. So whatever you want to do. And since it's evaluated, it doesn't mean that everybody has to do clubs in order to get their placement.
Oh, Cindy, so Jamie's struggling to get in, but a lot of people are back on. You guys are back, you ladies are back on. So why don't you, the only thing is we lost Melinda.
Well, I think she was basically through with what she had to say.
So you can continue.
So Michelle, take it away. Michelle, unmute. Michelle, can you unmute yourself?
Oh, there's Jamie. Jamie came in, Michelle unmuted. It's all coming together.
Okay, Michelle, you're up.
I already did mine. What am I doing now?
Oh, the second one.
Oh my gosh.
All right, do you want me to read that? And then
Yes,
if you have
please.
comments? Okay. Yep. The rules for Rhythmic Xcel have been laid out to put the focus on personal progress rather than competitive placement. Therefore, athletes can be challenged and happy in a single level for multiple years. Clubs hosting events are required to follow the competition regulations for this purpose. Simple changes such as posting scores and naming event champions will ultimately undermine this goal.
Yes.
So Michelle, if you had a comment, and then we'll hear from Tiana.
Yes, I do. So this is funny because when we did go to, I can't remember, but it was a big, like a national thing where we had JO and Xcel competing together. I had a parent like come up to me, one of my parents, so worried because she saw how it was being awarded for the JO program. And it goes back to what I was saying about how my parents are just big worriers. And she was so worried that we also at this big meet would be doing it like that. And she was so worried for her child, you know, and she just came, I mean, she came running up to me full of anxiety, almost tears in her eyes. And, you know, it was such a good check to me to say like, okay, we are doing the right thing for my families. This is really what they appreciate. As far as staying in the same levels for a couple years, I've sort of honed it down to a pretty good system. I think that So when I have my kids start off with level A, I've had them do floor hoop and ball the first year, and then they stay in level A for the second year, and they do rope, clubs, and ribbon the second year. And then every year we go up. The first year, I think those are the easiest equipment. We do floor hoop and ball as they move to the new body skills, and then they stay a second year in that. I mean, that gives me 8 years with a kid, and at least 8 years. And that has really worked out really well. They don't have the expectation that like, oh, I'm gonna go right to level B. This has become the way we do it in our gym. It takes a lot of pressure off of me. The parents know that this is how it's gonna go. 2 years in those lower levels really helps to get their skills better, their body skills better. And every year is a challenge for them because they are going to do either more difficult equipment or new body skills. And so, I mean, it's taken a little trial and error, but I've stuck with this, and it's really worked well for me. And I think, you know, how we've increased the challenges for level C and D. I don't have any C's and D's this year, but I think that those increase in the challenges will be a good step up for the kids to realize, like, when I move to C, it's going to be a lot harder and more exciting for them.
So I think now let's hear from Tiana. Tiana has a pretty interesting perspective because she blends her JO and Xcel. So Tiana, why don't you tell us how this is working at your gym?
Tiana, can you raise your hand? I see you on here twice. Okay, so now I can do the right one. Is your hand raised, Tiana? Oh, you know what? Caroline, can you make me a host again? I think I'm not currently a host, so I'm not able to make Tiana a presenter.
I wonder if Caroline's not there.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself and call her.
I'm back.
Yes.
I'm back.
I'm not a host. Can you make me a host again, please?
Oh yeah, so we did have a problem with USA Gymnastics, had a system literally conflict, and I had the chance to cancel the other meeting and restart this one. That's what I did. So that was the technical problem. The woman who organizes our webinars didn't realize that that would happen, and she apologized.
Okay, so we're looking for Tiana.
Yep, her hand is raised. Jamie, you're gonna promote, I can promote her.
Thanks. I think I'll just need to be a host again.
I made you one.
Okay.
Hopefully you're good.
Michelle is a host now, not me.
Oops.
There we go.
Made
Okay.
Michelle one.
And we have Tiana, so I think we're all set. Tiana, can you unmute yourself?
Do y'all remember the good old days when we all used to sit in a room and
Yes.
talk and,
Yes.
and share ideas? Zoom is good, but we have our challenges.
Are you with us, Tiana? We promoted both of your instances of your name to panelist.
Okay, I've been doing these meetings too with people from 7 countries, and the mix of the technology and the 7 languages, it's even more exciting than like Zoom's cutting out and momentary gaps. So it's
Sorry
it's
about
all
that.
good.
I think we're all good now. Can you see me and hear me?
Hi, Tiana. Yes.
Hi. Hi, thank you. Yes, the panelists have been doing a great job with explaining the Xcel program. I agree with every one of them. I use all of those systems actually. I start off, actually we do have a Hugs program here as well. We have 2 girls this year who are mainstreaming into the Xcel A program, so that is very exciting. We also use our level 3s our level 3 pre-teams, and they start into Xcel A, and from there they can transfer into the JO program if that's the route they want to choose. And we kind of make it like a half level, like Cindy was saying, we kind of incorporate it into the JO program. So they learn our JO routines, but maybe slightly modified, a little bit easier to meet the athlete's demands. And they can either do level 3, or we say like 3.5 would be the Xcel A or B, and level 4, 4.5 is Xcel B or C. And then moving up the ranks, our level 6s, some of them are B, some of them are C's, depending on the person's ability. We want them to be somewhere where they feel most successful, but yet challenged. And it seems to really be working to hold them into the sport so they can still move up with their friends, but not necessarily compete at such a rigorous level. If they're not quite there yet, they can ease themselves into that level, especially like going to level 6s or level 7s. Last year, we actually had an 18-year-old switch over from being a prima ballerina into Rhythmic Xcel, and it was, equipment was so hard for her. She was so scared to toss the hoop up, but she was beautiful out on the floor. And like you said, since they weren't scored, they were evaluated. She was successful and she felt accomplished, and she's now teaching ballet at our gym for our girls, which is great. She's going to college and still here in the gym teaching, which is a wonderful transition. So the Xcel program really offers opportunities for all levels. And if they get into high school and like some of the other panelists were saying, they have boyfriends, they have other sports they want to do, they can still stay here with their friends and maybe cut down to 2 times a week and still compete and still be with their friends, which is an awesome opportunity for everybody. And financially, it helps the parents out. So if they, like you said, COVID's going to be a financial strain on some families, they can still compete without the financial burden to travel all over the country to qualify to different events. Those who want it can obviously still do it, and we support every child with whatever dream they want to pursue.
That's great. And so we've had a lot of talk about levels. How about if we turn it over to Paula to discuss our competitive levels?
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. It's just been really wonderful listening to all the stories of participation and all the positive things that have been happening. And before I talk about the participation levels, I just wanted to, I'm going to challenge everybody to open up your thought process and to really go to the why are these successes happening? What is it that's in the Xcel program that's built in that is allowing these really cool successes to happen? And the one thing that I'd like for everybody to try to do is just to back up a little and look at everything from a more broad perspective. Very often when we're busy trying to get kids into the right levels, then we're looking at the minutia, we're looking at the details, we're looking at specifics. And what I'm going to ask you to do is look at these participation levels and where to place kids from the point of view that's a little bit broader, okay? So we've heard stories of a prima ballerina, so her body is incredibly strong and she could participate as a level D, but she's brand new beginner with apparatus. So what does that look like? And if we try to go through with just the details of, this skill is worth that amount, it's hard to find our way there. If we draw back and we look at the overall, the average, then maybe that athlete with beautiful body can spend some time at a level C, which isn't challenging her physically in her body skills, but will allow her time to develop and learn what the apparatus skills are. So again, would love for everybody to look back as you're trying to find levels, not be so rigid about these exact skills are the only ones that are allowed in a certain level, but in general, this athlete can do mostly these skills. They may have some unique talent that allows them to do something that's really hard, kind of like unusual, or they may have one area. Maybe balancing is really hard for this athlete and it's hard for them to stand still. So their balance skills will be at a lower level, but maybe they leap very well. So they have a mixture. It's not even so rigid as to what you put in there. You can put higher or lower because what's being evaluated is the execution of that. And I also want you to think about this from the point of view of, as we get to the evaluation process next time, this is an opportunity, again, to sit back, to put out what you have and allow the evaluator to look at things again from not so much a point value, but the evaluator, as they give their points, is giving you an opinion, an idea as to what could you improve on. We assume, and every evaluator that's out there is an expert. They know what they're looking at. They have things. We all have a specialty that we're really good at. You know, for example, one kid might be super fantastic with the clubs in her hand, but as soon as you put a ball in there, she's like completely lost and clueless. She's just naturally headed toward the clubs. We're naturally headed toward. I know that as a coach, I don't spend a lot of time because of our time constraints and the way my team is set up. I don't put an emphasis on perfect ballet technique. So I put an emphasis on let's get moving and let's enjoy movement and let's learn it that way. So I know that when we show up and we're going to be evaluated, we're going to have things that don't look good and that won't get a lot of points from somebody who is very much valuing perfect ballet technique, right? So there are differences of opinion, but I want to know, what do you see as an expert in ballet? Where could we get better? So think of, again, your evaluation processes as an opportunity to get feedback, period, the end. And allow that, I think will allow a lot of those discrepancies. You know, you go one time and you get a 90 points or a 9. The next time you go, same routine, you get 60 points or a 6. Instead of being so upset about that difference, understand that you just got an opinion from someone. They're not telling you it's better or worse. They just might have weighted it differently. Of course, we're working to bring these things closer so that we do match more often, but this is just the way. If somebody highly values something more than another, then go, okay, well then I'll work to make that better next time, because it's obviously not there. So hopefully that's a way we can look at this evaluation, and that will go into where you choose your participation levels. So as a coach, again, I choose participation levels based on how I can best have my athlete grow. So I know we're going in with ugly knees and toes, but we really need to work hard at being a little bit stronger. We need to work at harder skills, and we'll clean up the knees and toes later. Okay, some of you may have a different thing. So I'm going to go ahead and go for the higher level. Let's say I'm going to go for level C, but I know that we don't have everything for level C. That's my idea as a coach. And my job then is to say, okay, well, here are the things that you'll probably get marked down for. So we'll just work on improving those. Okay. So that's just a little feedback on how to look at the evaluations. As far as the participation levels go, we have levels A, B, C, and D. So there are 4 levels. And this past year, the new regulations, we've really made a distinction between levels A and B and what they are, and levels C and D. So there's very much a breaking point and a growth point between A, B, and C, D. So again, if you look at your athletes, level A, we say, is primarily for athletes performing JO and FIG 0.1 or 1/10 body skills, okay, or up to that. So the majority of what they can do is at that level. So they're beginning level skills with the body. Also, though, the apparatus handling is very basic and less integrated with the body skills. That's how we've put it. It's basic and less integrated. So in other words, the child might be able to do something where they're holding the apparatus and they do a body skill, and then they might need to stand still, let's say with ball, to do a roll across their chest. So they're not yet quite able to put together maybe standing on one leg and doing a balance. Does that make sense? So you've got the child that's working the body skills and is able to nicely hold the apparatus, but maybe not do something complicated with it, okay? And then when they're doing their complicated apparatus, they're doing something more simple with the body. So that's what we see as level A. We're learning our body, we're learning our skills, we're not quite ready to smush them together yet. Level B then would be the athlete that's getting a little stronger in their body skills. So they perform primarily 1 and 2/10 body skills. And the apparatus handling is getting slightly more complex and now integrated with the body skills and the choreography. So you'll start to see things that are maybe still pretty simple, but they're put together nicely. So while the feet are doing something fancy, the apparatus can be doing something also a little more fancy or difficult, okay? So hopefully that makes sense. As far as performance goes, your level A athlete, they're just beginning level performers. So they're just now getting used to stepping out in front of an audience for the very first time and being comfortable there and being able to do what they're capable of, okay? When we get to level B, we want to start seeing a little bit of musicality, a little bit of expression. So they can go out on the floor, the anxiety should be better, and they start to appeal to the audience, okay? So as we're doing evaluations, there's an actual place on the score sheet where we're looking for that progression. So we're not just talking about skills, body skills, apparatus, but also performance ability, okay? Moving on to level C and D then, you know, our ultimate goal with this Xcel program is that fits everyone. And by everyone, we would love for somebody to be able to move through all the levels, graduate from level D, able to go to a Cirque du Soleil audition or any other theater audition and get a job. Because not only were their body and apparatus skills being developed, but also their performance skills, okay? So by the time you finish level D, you should look like a professional, an absolute professional in all ways. And so again, we want that to come through not only in how we place our athletes in their levels, but in how the evaluators are also looking at that, okay? So in level C and D, we've added more skills are being done. They're doing higher degrees. So 2 3/10 body skills for level C would be the majority of what they're going to get. Again, it's also making room for an athlete who doesn't have the flexibility to do super high level skills that require something fantastic. They can keep to what they're capable of and add difficulty in different ways. So the apparatus in level C starts to become complex, okay? It starts to become complex, and it's also maybe not the most complex handling is integrated, but all of the apparatus, every body skill should have something integrated with the apparatus. No more just holding things, no more doing separate, okay? And those level C athletes are starting to show a strong ability to deliver an entirely packaged performance. So now their musicality has a theme that goes with it. They're able to express it through their body, through their dynamics. All of that's starting to happen. And then, like I say, in level D, we're looking for the higher level body skills, but also those who create difficulty through skill combinations, variations of skills. Okay, you're not just having to always go higher difficulty, but you can put things together to make it more difficult as an overall performance. And then that apparatus handling should start to be masterful. There's variety, there's risk, there's all the things that we want out of our top level athletes. And then their performance level is professional. We expect a professional performance out of them. And that includes when they make mistakes, right? Being able to work through that, because we know Broadway performers aren't perfect every single night, but you'd never know it. So the other thing I'd like to just bring through is we hope that by having this program available, by teaching people how to have a healthy relationship with being evaluated, right? We want to have a healthy relationship, allowing somebody to come in and tell us, you know what, that is great, and here's where I think you could be better. We learn as athletes, as coaches, as parents, oh, thank you so much for your feedback. This hopefully is providing the strength so that when you are ready for a more challenging competitive environment, you have a very, very strong foundation, right? And so if it is in you and you're like, man, I really want to challenge myself and see if I can become that world champion or that Olympic champion, because we really want our Rhythmic program to be the most successful thing it can possibly be, right? So that's what we're after here, is how can we help you build a foundation so that our Olympic athletes are they're being built stronger from the very beginning, and that only propels them higher and further along the way. So again, as being part of this Xcel program, I hope that everybody can embrace this as an opportunity to learn about comparison, to learn about competition, and help us not only here in gymnastics, but as we go out into the world, because, you know, we are fighting every day. So how can we do it and maintain our sense of self-worth and our happiness. So thank you for letting me present here, you guys.
Cindy, if I may really quickly, first let me thank Paula because, I mean, resources that we all use today in rhythmic gymnastics. I mean, Paula has been at the heart of a lot of those. And I remember also, I've known her and looked up to her for a long time. I'm literally so happy to be able to work with her. And she really knows rhythmic gymnastics from the beginning to the end. So talking about professionalism and quality, it doesn't matter Xcel or JO, it's two avenues. And I guess if I could just clarify, as the director currently of this program, it is absolutely the objective that the experience of the athletes, whether they're in JO or Xcel, is positive. So I want to make sure that we, the differentiation, and I hope I'm understanding the explanation given by the Xcel leaders, you're still focused on good gymnastics, body apparatus, and performance quality, as is the JO program. Cindy started with that, and Paula talked about that here. You want them to be successful yet challenged, the same rhythmic gymnasts, and you want to find the best way for the athlete to grow. We have to want that whether it's JO or Xcel. So I want to clarify that. What I think is coming forward here, and I hope that Paula and Cindy and Michelle can give me the thumbs up if this is a good big picture paraphrase, is that what Xcel offers is really a different training and competitive experience. So it's going to be governed by what the training and competition objectives are for the athlete. And what Xcel is, it's really a viable option for rhythmic gymnasts that love rhythmic gymnastics, but the way that they want to interact with training and competition is different than the way a JO athlete wants to interact with, even though the goals of having a positive experience are still the same. I will say at competitions right now, gymnasts from other teams do talk to each other. We do have a different, it perhaps in the past has been like that. I think our coaches in the rhythmic program have worked very hard to start to have a different experience. So I hope that coaches feel that. I hope athletes, whether they're Xcel or JO, the future name will be different than JO, but that they have good friendships no matter what. But especially as Paula is talking about here, if you're choosing the Xcel track too, you want an even more scaffolded approach to feedback. That's important to you, right? Versus just a score, which is the reality of the JO program. It seems like what she's describing is more scaffolded type of feedback. And that means that that's in line with that gymnast training and competitive goals. I hope that that's an okay statement to make about the objectives, but really the objective for any gymnast competing in rhythmic gymnastics, I hope and pray, is that it's positive. And so, but these are different pathways depending on what your time, interest, commitment, skill set, time constraints, or just general approach to life is. And actually it's a blessing that we have two potential pathways. So what we want to do is capture as many gymnasts that want to in America that want to do rhythmic gymnastics and have a place for them. So Xcel is a place for them. And so I thank you for letting me just say that, but I want to make sure that we don't have, these are not conflicting experiential philosophies, but they are two alternative approaches. And really, I think a lot comes down to how you get feedback. Yes, because you get feedback in definitely a different manner in Xcel, and sort of a different, sometimes different expectations, but still the goal is good gymnastics no matter what. I think Paula said that really well. So I hope that Cindy and Michelle and Paula, are you comfortable with the way that I've said that?
Yep.
Okay, great. Well then,
I think, Caroline, you've just showed us why you are the rhythmic program director, because you get it all. And what Caroline said is exactly right.
well, listen, I am probably the program director because of Paula and Cindy and Michelle in some ways. So, you know, I am only here because of all the people that came before me, but I think we share the vision of the positive experience. So I thank you for your example in that, and really grateful for all your examples. I do think that there are definitely some questions and answers, and I think Jamie pointed out too, there's some people that even want to share some stuff. So I'm going to either, Jamie, I'll turn it to you maybe, or Cindy, I don't know if you have some closing before we move into question and answer.
And I think Michelle is raising her hand also to
Yeah.
maybe a couple final words.
I
Michelle?
just wanted to
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a point about the evaluation papers and how we've been able to use them as the kids have grown up to become choreographers. And so they really make sense. I mean, you know, when a kid starts out, they have no idea what's required and why I do what I do. But the way that they've been able to use the evaluation papers, and when they get to level D, then I let them, the first year, they do their own choreography for one routine, and then by the time they're in their second and third, then they do all their own choreography unless they want us to do it. But by then they're 13, 14. They really want that self-expression. But the evaluation papers sort of make a map for them, and they learn how to do the choreography. And you know, this last year I had some routines where like Cindy really did think like, did your daughter Zoe do that choreography? But no, the 14-year-old did her own choreography. And it was because of the education of being able to use those papers as a map to figure out like, how do you choreograph a routine? I mean, a lot of times kids grow up and just never know like, why do I do that? How do I do that? And just be totally dependent on somebody telling them what to do. But I've really found that the kids look forward to that self-expression of being able, you know, and that first time they're so afraid. They don't know, like they say they want to, and then they're just like, oh my God, this is harder than I thought. Just like doing all these papers and was harder than I thought. So anyway, I just wanted to say that choreography, the papers really are helpful in that way.
And I would like to piggyback on Michelle's comment. We've had some people ask why they have to fill out the papers, because the judges obviously can write down the routines. That's what Michelle talked about as one of the reasons. The other one Melinda talked about, her gymnast who does the double stag, well, you don't have to list it as one of the skills to be evaluated for that level. Sure, if it's kind of funky, they will get some execution deductions, but it doesn't have to be evaluated as a skill, and you can still put it into the routines. So there are many reasons why we ask the coaches to fill out the papers, and I've kind of found you can fill it out at the beginning of the season and just make copies and turn it into every meet. So it's not something, unless you make changes, that has to be done. So we had a question that came in asking if Xcel and JO gymnasts should or could train together. And all of the people that answered the Rhythmic Xcel survey, thank you so much for doing that. And then we sent out a follow-up. I sent out a follow-up question to everybody. And the majority of the people, not the majority, but a lot of the people have their Xcel and their JO teams training together in the same practice, working on the same routines and the same skills. They just might compete differently. And we thank you to Anna Loescher, who raised a big question about crossing over between JO and Xcel. And so we've gone back and really taken a good look to make sure that the Xcel rules are broad enough so that our JO competitors can cross over back and forth between JO and Xcel. So in answer to the question, yes, they can all train together, they can compete together, they can cross over back and forth. We welcome all of that. And you know what? And I have to say, all the Xcel people have been promoting Xcel, and it kind of sounds like we're JO bashing. Nobody's JO bashing. They are just so passionate about the Xcel program because of what it's done. And since this is what is Rhythmic Xcel, I think the enthusiasm is coming over. But you know what? We need, as Caroline said, we need both programs and all the programs.
Yes, I think your passion and enthusiasm is visible and clear and awesome. And I don't think it's anything. I just want to I wanted to clarify myself that we sort of shared the objectives with the JO program. But Cindy, without your enthusiasm and passion of you ladies, we wouldn't have the Xcel program. And more clubs are interested in it. That's why it's really important that we could do this webinar. There is a real interest And the coronavirus is an open door for kids in Xcel right now. And actually, Jamie, maybe that's a good segue into
Yes, I
one of
think
the shares.
Miranda had asked if she could share a couple words of her experience, and if there's anyone else who has an experience from their club that they'd like to briefly share about, we would welcome that. And also, if there are any other questions, feel free to type those in the Q&A and we can address them. So Miranda, if you still wanted to speak for a moment, could you raise your hand, please? And we will bring you on. Okay, momentarily you should be a panelist.
Yep, she'll come in. It just takes a minute.
Okay.
Did you promoted her, right?
Yes, I see her now. Oh, there we go.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Miranda.
Hi, nice to see all this enthusiasm in the country about the Xcel program. We've been a big promoter of Xcel ever since, I don't know, 2004 and 5, when we called it something else in our gym. And glad to see a national effort at promoting this program nationwide. I just wanted to say that Xcel has saved my business a few times when times got tough, including this year for COVID. Our Xcel programs were the first ones to fill up in the summer. We have currently 103 kids in Xcel in all 4 levels, and all those classes are full, including some kids who train 100% remotely from 5 different states. So these are kids who either have done rhythmic or dance or gymnastics or skating before, and they discovered rhythmic that can be done in the living room so nicely. We have 2 very enthusiastic Xcel coaches who wanted to teach only online. These kids that only want to train online. So they are teaching, including routines. We already had a competition in August, and I'm inviting everybody to get in touch with us to, to collaborate and expand these events so kids have a chance to see other kids from other clubs. We have a lot of kids in our gym and they compete against each other, but it's always more fun to see what other clubs are doing. So we would love to do more events, even just the living room challenge. That would be awesome to get in touch with some of you guys. So you can reach us at info@bostonrhythmic.com or reach Ada directly, who is our Xcel expert, at ada@bostonrhythmic.com, and we can talk about this. And I'd be happy to answer, questions from the smaller clubs who are looking into promoting this program, how we do things and how we get to the numbers that we have, because it's really proved to be very, very successful during this time. And Xcel has definitely been the backbone of the business this year. So I totally encourage you to jump on the Xcel train. Thank you. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Miranda. Okay. Did we have any other questions, or is there anyone else that wanted to share experience?
Oh, Karen, looks like Karen raised her hand.
Okay. Karen is coming on as a panelist. And I have to say, Karen did an amazing job in her club of embracing National Gymnastics Day and did amazing, cute little videos with her team explaining what they loved about gymnastics and quotes from the coaches. So bravo, Karen, for embracing that and using that as a good way to promote your club and the sport this past weekend.
Well, you're welcome, but I'm going to give all the credit to one of my coaches, Megan Morell, who I gave the idea and she took the ball and ran with it. So I'm excited. I'll let her know. I'm going to talk to her as soon as I get off of this call, that it was appreciated. I was trying to figure out how to get my oh, there's my video. Let's see if we can, yay. Okay. Hi, everybody. So I just wanted to say a few things. I would love to learn more from the gal who just was speaking about how she's grown the Xcel program in her gym to those numbers and how she promotes it and markets it. I would love to hear more about that. I've been a big fan of this program for a long time. I think this is absolutely key. And perhaps you will address it soon. But a couple of key areas that I've always had questions on are the way we call the levels, what we call the levels. We call it A, B, C, D. Can we call it bronze, silver, gold, and platinum like they do on the artistic side? I think, you know, when you get to Xcel D, it should sound like you're at the highest level, but you're in D instead of A, and you know, it just doesn't sound great. So perhaps you'll be addressing that. I found it very useful in helping some of our athletes during times of injury, where they started out in the JO program, they got injured, but then they were able to get back later in the season, and having an Xcel competition that they could do kept them in the sport. So I know we had looked, it sounded like things were going towards doing JO or Xcel in a season and not being able to go between the two. So I'm interested in some clarification on that, because it's really saved, you know, some high level kids from having to drop out of the program. And I just see that as a big benefit. And then when it gets to Xcel C and D, you know, being able to have some apparatus combination or some apparatus mastery or some form of risk, you know, some tricks. They want to do some tricky tricks when they get up to CD so that they feel cool and that they've got cool things in their routine. So I'm hoping that those kinds of, you know, that there's the flexibility in the scoring system to evaluate that. And then I guess my last comment has been about the scoring system. So I hope that you all are going to be addressing that as well. It just seems to me like it needs a little bit more refinement in that the way it currently is, you know, one passe balance, you've got basically 10 gradations you can give for one balance. And I'd rather see it be a little bit more like, you know, full, partial, 0 credit, or full, you know, almost, you're getting the idea and no credit, something like that, a little simpler way of evaluating their skills, and then having more skills that you can evaluate, including dance steps and including, like I said, the apparatus and the risk type elements for the older kids or the more experienced kids. In general, you know, our team participated in the competition in Indianapolis recently, and it was fantastic, absolutely fantastic. So my hat's off to I know to Paula and Cindy and Michelle, who've been doing this for years, and for Caroline and Jamie for supporting it in such a great way. So I just think the potential is huge here if we get it right. And when you look at the artistic program, it's huge, and the quality of the gymnasts are impressive. So we've got a nice model there. I'm sure they've learned things along the way, and I'm hoping we can do what they're doing and even better. So thank you.
And Karen, I think you will be very happy with the information that will be posted soon, because for level C and D, we have added the requirement for 2 medium or high throws, and level D must have a rotation. So that goes along. And this is all feedback from the people, the coaches that responded to the Xcel survey. I think you will like that. I think you will like the evaluator's handbook, which goes down through and shows how many points you get if you do it perfectly well, if you don't do it, or if you do it a little bit well. We've tried to clarify that. We've added more skills in some of the routines that will be evaluated. And again, with the lower level, level A and B, there will be fewer skills, and we've made the jump to C and D. So except for calling everything still A, B, C, and D, Karen, I think you're really going to like the information that's coming out soon. And I thank you, because Karen was one of the ones that sent feedback.
And I thank Karen too, because when I was a gymnast, Karen was like one of the main judges, and she was very famous in my small world as sort of an intimidating judge. And I'm so happy that our paths are still merged and crossed, and look where we are now in our own evolution. So thank you, Karen.
We had one more question come in the Q&A, and I can just go ahead and ask it here. The question was, are there any clubs in Texas that participate in this program? Is there anybody on here from Texas that wants to say, yes, we do?
And we're trying to identify the regions that everybody is from, so that we can get representation from all the regions possibly on our committee. But here's the thing about Rhythmic Xcel: it doesn't matter if there are any other clubs, and the same with hugs. You can have a JO meet, and then you can have Rhythmic Xcel gymnasts interspersed with the JO gymnasts. So it's not as though you have to have an entire Xcel meet. The point is that we're all doing rhythmic gymnastics together.
And we just got a note in the chat that there are definitely clubs in Texas who participate in Xcel. So we probably just don't have them right now, or they're being shy, but they are there.
And I think
we lost you, Cindy.
have that information yet. But that might be something from membership at some point that we will be able to get and share.
Jamie, it looks like we have one. It looks like Miriam raised her hands again. And after Miriam, we'll probably close it out unless there's a final question.
Okay, I'll bring Miriam back on.
Hi, I just realized one good thing to talk about to encourage gyms who are hosting competitions is to discuss the flexibility that comes with coordinating an Xcel competition, and how easy it is to just add that on to your JO competition. But since I'm not the expert, I wanted to ask if Cindy and Michelle or Paula had any updates about how that can be done. I know for one, recruiting judges to judge an Xcel competition is a lot easier for multiple reasons. So that might be a good thing to encourage. Any changes there, Cindy?
Nope.
And I wonder, Cindy, if you think that that's good, like that's a good lead in for the second webinar. Now, I don't know what you think, but in that webinar, you all are going to talk about how Xcel is judged, right?
Right.
Maybe you can talk about that then?
And competition, yeah, because that would take a lot to discuss it now. So yeah, we can go into competition management. That would be fine.
Okay, why don't we plan that you all can include that? I think that's really interesting for people. And Miriam, I think that's a great question. And since they're going to focus a little bit on competition during the next webinar, it's a teaser. Look what's coming, everybody. There's a whole nother webinar from this group coming forward. We'll make sure that's out there. And then Cindy, if you can incorporate that, that would be great.
Okay, we can do it.
Well, I think we're going to, yes, Jamie, Cindy, Paula.
Thank you, everybody.
And Miriam.
Thank you.
Thank you to the Xcel committee. Thank you, everybody. Please reach out to them too in the meantime. They are great resources. Thank you for joining us.